everyone, welcome back to the Dish on Aging. This is episode 19, and today we will be answering the question somebody submitted in response to the presentation I gave 2 weeks ago. And today's question is, how can I get my mother-in-law with dementia to go to an elder law attorney when I am not her power of attorney? The quick answer is you cannot. Today we'll be talking about this very important topic. Not only can you not get your mother-in-law with dementia to go to an elder law attorney simply because you're not the power of attorney, I recommend you not even bring it up. Next week I will be talking about what is an elder law attorney in much more detail. For today's conversation, the power of attorney is somebody who you gave in writing permission to make your medical decisions, your financial decisions, your care decisions, should you not be in sound mind to be able to do that for yourself. The reason why I talked about the topic 2 weeks ago about how to talk to your spouse, about how to make financial arrangements, to look at your finances so that you could financially come up with a plan for how you would pay for your potential future care needs. And if you'll remember also, during this pandemic, even though we're moving past the pandemic, I am strongly encouraging everyone to get the care at home to the extent you can. The reason for that is because, let's see, last week there were 2 revisions to nursing home resident rights. The revisions were made by the Center for Disease Control and Medicare, Medicaid services, and the policies went into great detail for several pages, up to 20 pages. I read every word of every revision, about how nursing home residents have an absolute right to have visitors at this point in the pandemic, in the building with loved ones. And then, like, the last paragraph of the 20 pages was the exception. The exception is if the facility where your loved one lives has any new COVID cases. And that's happening all the time. My estimation is the local long-term care facilities, every 7 to 10 days, they're getting new cases, usually amongst the staff. It can be amongst some of the residents. The vast majority of the residents are fully vaccinated, as am I. So even though CDC and Medicare and Medicaid services have gone to great lengths to talk about resident rights, and this is how family visits can take place safely inside the building, the exception is if that facility has new cases, and many of them are on a regular basis. So in effect, there are no family visits that are able to happen consistently. So it is because of that and the negative psychological impact of not being able to see your family when you're in a facility that I'm strongly encouraging everyone for now to do everything you can to set up any care needs that may come up, that you set them up so you receive the care at home, whether your home, a family member's home, or something of that nature. And to be able to do that, you have to know what your financial circumstance is so that you're able to pay for it. So that's what I was talking about 2 weeks ago. And then the current question, how can I get somebody in my family who I'm concerned about? How can I get them to go to an elder law attorney? And the answer is you cannot. Basically, what this gets down to is, obviously the question is coming from somebody is not a power of attorney, and they have a concern about, are the right decisions being made and how money is being spent, and also about how care is being provided. What I want to do now is let's hear from Gamma S. She has a story she's going to tell you about. This is a true story, an experience that one of her friends had about this topic, where she wanted to be helpful. And because the friend was not the power of attorney, the friend really almost got scammed. Scammed might be too strong of a word. Other people would say no. The friend in this story got scammed. So let's hear to see what Gamma has to say.
Hi everyone, Gamma S here. I'd like to apologize. Last week I received the feedback that my audio was too garbled for anyone to understand what I was saying. I was having a senior moment and forgot to use my microphone last week, so my hope is that you all will be able to hear me with more clarity this week. I will also speak more slowly. Hopefully that will help. And I will put summaries up in writing about what I am saying. So today I want to talk about, this is a true story. A friend of mine who got duped into taking care of a friend when the friend said that she only needed to stay with her for a few weeks as she recovered from surgery. The friend explained to my friend she could help pay some rent and to help pay for some bills. What my friend's friend did, she was concealing that she had been recently diagnosed with terminal cancer. The cancer patient did not want to tell her children because she feared they would take family leave away from their jobs to take care of her. The cancer patient felt that because family leave means no income for a few weeks or months, the cancer patient feared that her children would experience a financial burden. Also, the cancer patient did not want to sign her house over to the state as part of a Medicaid application so that she could receive her own care at home. She wanted her home to go to her children as an inheritance. So after my friend said it was okay for the cancer patient to stay with her for a few weeks, the cancer patient checked herself out of the hospital AMA. That means against medical advice. That means her doctor told her not to leave, and she said, I'm leaving anyway, and so no care was set up, and the cancer patient went to go stay with my friend for a few weeks. Now keep in mind, my friend is not the POA. She had no idea the extent of the medical problems that the cancer patient was experiencing. In the end, after it was now 4 to 6 weeks, my friend had to contact the adult children of the cancer patient to come and get her to provide her care. This experience ended up costing my friend over $2,000 out of her own pocket to pay for unexpected care expenses that she had to provide to the cancer patient because the cancer patient was living in her house. My friend could not express her anger at the cancer patient because she was dying. My friend was so distraught over her own financial loss, and she felt like she got scammed by her friend. The only thing I could do was give her Dr. Sweeney's phone number and said, maybe talking to a psychologist can help you with your overwhelming emotions, even if it will not get your money back. This is a cautionary tale. If you are not the power of attorney, you are in the blind about what is the medical diagnosis and doctor recommendations for care. Think twice about taking on any care or financial responsibility for someone when you are in the blind about what is really going on. If someone you love or care about, especially if that's a parent or a grandparent, comes to you and asks for help, you can always offer words of support and encouragement. You can go visit them. You can also offer to call their POA yourself so that arrangements can be made to set up any care or financial support that the person coming to you needs. I am so sorry this happened to my friend, and it's equally tragic that her own friend so suddenly learned about her own medical diagnosis. But still, my friend did not need to have this happen to her when she was just trying to be helpful. Thank you very much, and I'll talk to you next week.
Okay, a cautionary tale indeed. And by the way, I think that also might be part of what motivated today's question. Also, somebody had made a financial commitment to provide for care for a loved one, and then they were wondering, are things being done how the person asking the question, are things being set up in terms of what are priorities? One of the most important things to remember is that we all have different values about how we want to set up our own care. Values is, what do we find most important? For example, do we want to spend the most amount of money to get the best care, or do we want to spend a medium amount of money to get adequate care? And how the decisions we make for ourselves may be different than the decisions we make for other people. Also, questions come up, how much do we cut corners to leave, to the extent that we can, a nest egg for our heirs to inherit? Some of us would say, hey, I'm not leaving anything to anyone. I don't think my mother should either. I think all of her money should be spent for her care. And we have 100% say of that for ourselves. Or if we are power of attorney for somebody else, even though as power of attorney, we're supposed to be doing what that person would be doing for themselves. And it can run into conflicts when we have family members or someone else. It may be a step-parent who's been in the family for several decades that nobody really cared for. And maybe now the family is suspicious or wondering, or maybe thinking, I know doesn't think how I do. I know he's not doing things how I would. Here's what the challenge is. If you're not power of attorney, there's absolutely nothing you can do to necessarily find out. You can ask. You have to be careful about asking. If you ask somebody, how is this being paid for? Are we sure that my mother is getting enough care? Then sometimes that can backfire. So I'm going to bring back to that presentation I gave 2 weeks ago. It is really important you take control over what you can control, and that is who's going to be your own power of attorney. It's going to be, how are you going to set up value systems for your own care? You can't control a decision that somebody else has made about that somebody else is going to be their power of attorney. And that can be something that can be very difficult to deal with. What you can do is you can go for a visit to try to see with your own eyes, how is the person doing? That's the other part of the conflict. Not just blended families, maybe biological family members, and everyone just never really liked each other or gotten along anyway. But we're now dealing with blended families. It might be a step parent. It may be a half sister is in charge of this. And you're not power of attorney. You don't have a say. Other people say, well, I want to help, but I want to know what the circumstances of the financial presentation so I know how to help. Well, guess what? You have to make your own decision in the blind. You can ask. They may answer. They may not. You may be comfortable with the answer. You may be suspicious that you might not be getting an honest answer. And if you're going to make a decision to provide some level of hands-on care or financial care, know that you're in the blind and you really don't know. Some families are actually truly functional, and you can ask the question, you get an answer that's honest, and you can trust that, so you know how to move forward. Okay. Yeah, so again, what can you do if you've made a financial commitment to provide somebody's care and now you have, you're not sure if that was the right decision? Well, I always, like I said, you go for a visit, kind of see what you can see, and then make your decision. You may change your mind and let the power of attorney know that you've changed your mind about that. And you can decide, do you want to continue to provide the care, or maybe you don't want to provide the care, either the care itself or the financial support. Okay, yeah, so primarily the reasons are for family confusion about this, or like I said, we all have different values, different things we find that are important. That's number one. Number two, many of us are living far away. If we don't see somebody every day, we don't realize that they really have been declining. Remember that slide I showed last week. Some will decline very quickly, some will decline very slowly, and we can show up and suddenly have like a gut-wrenching reaction. My grandmother has declined. They must not be giving her enough care. And that is probably not true. If you're finding yourself really upset about that type of situation, what I encourage you to do is seek out your own counseling. When people come to me, I can tell almost right away, based on what they report to me and what they've seen, that the loved one, the care recipient, actually is getting exceptionally good care. It's just they're having an age and disease related decline. And it can be helpful for the person to hear that from an independent person. You have to go for your own counseling. If you're not the POA, you can't, even if you were a family member, you can't call the doctor. The doctor will say, I'm sorry, you're not the POA. I cannot talk to you. And that's a smart thing for the doctor to do, because you can get all kinds of chaos when you've got family members showing up, all of a sudden wanting to have an impact on the care somebody, a loved one, is receiving. It can actually become chaotic, dysfunctional, and cause significant distress to the care recipient. And that's why a lot of this, you just have to take a deep breath and step back and accept there's nothing you can do. Also, remember, Gamma S is a very powerful story. If you're not POA, you're in the blind. You truly do not know what is going on. And so think twice about stepping up to help, either with giving somebody a place to live, helping them with their care, or making a financial commitment to their care, because it might be entirely possible that there's a whole different side of the story that they're not telling you. And you would have made a different decision if you had known that side of the story. So, summary, bottom line is, if you are not power of attorney, you are in the blind. And so if you want to make a decision whether to help somebody, please know you are in the blind. You may decide to help anyone. Anyway, somebody might say, she's my grandmother. I have the ability to send so much money every month. I'm going to do that, even if it means that my stepsister, who I never got along with, is seeing to it that her children receive more of an inheritance from my grandmother's or mother's estate. I'm okay with that. I'm going to do right by my grandmother. I have the money to give her. I'm going to give it, and with my intention to help her with her care. So that can be a very healthy approach, a way to move forward, even if you know that you are in the blind about what's truly going on. Okay, and then next week I'm going to be talking about specifically what is a elder law attorney and why is that so important. I'm going to say probably 80% of the confusion and chaos that happens in families about care and power of attorneys and how's the money being spent or how is the estate being managed, just because people just don't have a clue. They have no idea about what the law dictates, what can you do, what can't you do, and they also don't have a clue on the care system. So this is a nice dovetail to say have a nice weekend.